last night we had the NBA draft lottery, and we had a couple teams move up, and we had some move down. So let's get right into it. Before we get into that, let me just say that the NBA has been a really high topic as of the last week. So I'm going to put the link the link of each of the last 3 videos I've done. The Cavs and Celtics prediction, the Spurs and Warriors prediction, and the Lonzo Ball being a bust debate. I want to put the link of those 3 videos in the description box below so you can kind of take a look at those, because I think it's be really interesting. I think the Lonzo Ball one especially is going to be really interesting when we get at a later point in this particular podcast. And the Cavs and Celtics, that should be an exciting series. It starts tonight. Spurs and Warriors is looking really one-sided right now. But I think the Spurs will probably at least maybe win Game 3 or 4 at home to kind of keep their season alive for a little bit longer. But then they'll lose Game 5 in the Oracle. So let's get right into this mock draft. Winning the lottery last night was the Boston Celtics, and I have them going with Markelle Fultz, point guard of Washington. Now, in the first mock draft, I kind of did have Markelle Fultz slipping a little bit because I felt like some teams were probably going to pass on him. But I think my opinion's changed ever since that. Boston seems really content with drafting either Markelle Fultz or Lonzo Ball, but I'm leaning more towards Markelle Fultz at this point. However, there has been some experts giving ideas, but maybe the Celtics may consider trading this number 1 overall pick to maybe get a veteran player like Jimmy Butler or Paul George. And plus, they're more likely to probably sign Gordon Hayward in the free agency season if Gordon Hayward wants to go there. All right, number 2, the LA Lakers went with Lonzo Ball, point guard of UCLA. Now, this is kind of a perfect fit for Lonzo Ball. I mean, considering he went to UCLA and he's staying in California, he's staying at home. But are the Lakers willing to draft Lonzo Ball and face the wrath of his father, LeVar Ball, during his entire career? That's going to be a major discussion in the Lakers front office, and particularly with Magic Johnson. But I feel like Magic Johnson will probably make the final decision whether they draft Lonzo Ball or not. It won't be Luke Walton. It's not going to be anybody else but Magic Johnson making this selection, I believe. This is, in my opinion, where the real NBA draft begins. If it's not at this point, it's right after pick 3. I have the 76ers going with Josh Jackson out of Kansas. I feel like he's probably the best player in this draft. I think he's the most NBA ready out of anybody in the top 10. Number 4, I have Phoenix going with Jayson Tatum out of Duke. Number 5, I have Sacramento going with Malik Monk out of Kentucky. Number 6, I have Orlando going with Lauri Markkanen out of Arizona. Number 7, this is kind of a surprise pick. Kind of a little bit higher than what this prospect should be. But I have Minnesota going with Zach Collins out of Gonzaga. I feel like maybe he could have stayed another year at Gonzaga. He was he wasn't getting a lot of time in the center position, being behind Karnowski. I feel like maybe Zach Collins could have benefited from staying at Gonzaga, but I feel like he'll be NBA ready in about maybe a season or 2. Number 8, I have the New York Knicks going with Dennis Smith Jr., the point guard out of North Carolina State. I feel like he's probably the second most NBA ready out of anybody in the top 10. I feel like he's somebody that can change the Knicks franchise. I think this is somebody the Knicks kind of need. Number 9, I have the Dallas Mavericks going with De'Aaron Fox, point guard out of Kentucky. Number 10, I have Sacramento going with Jonathan Isaac out of Florida State. Number 11, I have Charlotte going with Jarrett Allen, the center of Texas. Number 12, I have Detroit going with Frank Ntilikina, point guard out of France. 13, I have the Denver Nuggets going with OG Anunoby out of Indiana. 14, I have Miami going with John Collins out of Wake Forest. Number 15, this is where we're getting into the playoff teams. Those first 14 were lottery picks. Now we're getting into the playoff teams. Or also known as the second half of the first round. 15, I have Portland with Harry Giles out of Duke. 16, I have Chicago with Justin Patton, the center out of Creighton. Now, many say that Justin Patton should have stayed another year at Creighton, and I think he should have. I felt like his game just really devolved after Maurice Watson Jr. went down for the season. I feel like he's somebody that could have benefited from another year. He could have been a lottery pick in next year's class. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if he fits in with Chicago or whoever drafts him. Number 7, I have Milwaukee going with Ike and how do I pronounce it? Ike and Anigboju, center out of UCLA. 18, I have the Pacers going with Ivan Robb out of California. Now, he's somebody that could have been a lottery pick last year, but he decided to come back for another season. Number 19, I have the Atlanta Hawks going with Luke Kennard out of Duke. I feel like at this point, it'd be a steal for the Hawks to take Luke Kennard at 19. Or somebody else who's going to come up in a couple of picks. So I feel like Luke Kennard could easily be a lottery pick, but if he's still there at number 19, I would be upset if the Hawks did not steal him at number 19. Number 20, I have Portland going with TJ Leaf out of UCLA. 21, I have Oklahoma sitting with Justin Jackson out of North Carolina. Now, Justin Jackson easily be a lottery pick as well. But I feel like there's always somebody that is a projected lottery pick but falls toward the middle of the first round. And this year, I think that could be Justin Jackson. Number 22, I have Brooklyn with Terrence Ferguson out of Australia. 23, I have Toronto going with Caleb Swanigan out of Purdue. 24, I have Utah going with Jordan Bell out of Oregon. 25, I have Josh Hart out of Villanova. Josh Hart's kind of the game changer. I feel like he's benefited from being at Villanova all 4 years. Josh Hart could easily be inside the top 20. I feel like maybe in 3.0 he might end up being maybe 2 spots higher, depending on how things change. 26, I have Portland with PJ Dozier out of South Carolina. I feel like this would be a pick if they are unable to get Kyle Lowry to return next season. I feel like it'd be a good replacement at the point guard position. '27, I have Brooklyn with Tyler Lydon out of Syracuse. Number 28, I have the LA Lakers with Bam Adebayo out of Kentucky. Number 29, I have San Antonio with Kyle Kuzma out of Utah. Now, Kyle Kuzma has the ability to be in the mid-first round. I think at this point it's a steal if San Antonio is able to get him at 29. And number 30, the Utah Jazz going with Wesley Iwundu out of Kansas State. So that is my first round NBA mock draft 2.0. I'm thinking about maybe doing the full two round mock draft, all 60 picks next time. There's a lot of key guys that could go in the second round as well, which I'm really looking forward to seeing how draft night works out, as we are, I believe, about maybe a little over a month away. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. But I'm not going to go over all of these picks. I kind of went over Fultz and Ball earlier. Boston's going to take one of them, and the Lakers are going to take the other. Josh Jackson might be taken by Philadelphia at number 3. I think there's at least an 80% chance of that happening. But maybe the 76ers will consider maybe Fox or Malik Monk. Maybe they'll consider one of those two instead. Number 6, Orlando, Lauri Markkanen, power forward of Arizona. I feel like he's somebody that the Orlando Magic could really use. I think he could be a day one starter. Dennis Smith Jr. at number 8. I kind of went over him earlier. I feel like he's somebody the Knicks need to turn their franchise around. However, maybe if Markkanen's still available, maybe the Knicks will take him. I kind of went over Luke Kennard and Justin Jackson going, with Kennard going 19 to Atlanta and Justin Jackson with 21st overall to Oklahoma City. 23, Caleb Swanigan. Now, some people say he doesn't have the size and the measurements to succeed in the NBA, but Caleb Swanigan was a hard worker at Purdue. I've seen him for the last... I was able to see him in a couple games last season watching his tape. He works really hard. He's a double-double machine. And he's somebody the Raptors could really use. Number 24, Utah, Jordan Bell out of Oregon. I feel like that'd be a good pick for Utah. Somebody who is a really good defensive player. Although maybe there were some suggestions that I believe I read an article earlier this week that the Bulls might consider trading up with one of the lottery teams to go with Zach Collins. But I don't think that's going to happen anymore considering the Bulls are picking 16 because there was a possibility the Bulls would have had a top 10 pick if the lottery didn't go Sacramento's way at all. Anyway, that's all I have for this mock draft. Comment your thoughts down below. Even if you want to do it pick by pick, I already know UFC MMA is already going to be on it right before this video even finishes. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at JB Talk Sports. I'll put that in the description box below. Please also watch those last 3 videos. It'd mean a lot. I could really use some views right now, new viewers. Anyway, I will see you in my next video.